Howdy, everybody. It is June 21, 2017, and this is our weekly, mostly weekly, iAwake teleseminar or conversation. And I'm here with Doug Prater, our boy, he's a lot of things, but we call him our information director. Is that your title?
It's a communications director.
Communication, right? Information propaganda minister for iAwake. No, but he's that's a nice thing about small companies. We all have to do a bunch of different roles, and he's the creator of our release this week, Stealing Flow, which is just so cool and so bloody appropriate now, because it seems the whole world is really getting excited about flow states, and they are they're powerful, And traditionally in spirituality, when I was studying transpersonal psychology and everything, they talked about that as part of the things that emerge out of deep spiritual connection with God or deep spiritual practice or whatever these traditions that you're in, that gifts would happen, So talks about, Hindu tradition talks about CDs, gifts. The Christians talk about charisms, and Paul talked about there being different gifts of the Spirit, prophecy, interpretation of, tongues, healing, all of different stuff. And of course, the standard line was, coming out of some of these old traditions, it's like, well, you don't do spiritual practice in order to get gifts and be able to have superpowers and stuff like this. And that's true. However, I think that we're at a state now that we kind of need superpowers that are coming through, healed, enlightened, humble, healthy people to do good work in the world, because there's so much to be done, and we need to be smart, and we need to be creative. And there's something really cool how it seems that evolution is making these states, when we're doing our most important work, really pleasurable. Like some of the best things in our lives, it's like, it's just like sex, right? I hope for most of you, you've had a good sexual experience. Not all of it's good, but in generally speaking, sex is a really good thing, And if the act that led to procreation was a complete bummer and nobody wanted to do it, well, we'd have probably died out as a species a long time ago. So now, at the time that we need to really be our smartest, most creative, most compassionate, most brilliant, we're actually learning how to do these states. And I think one of the things that maybe that we're talking about at iAwake that nobody's talking about, that we can use as brain entrainment technology to bring these states on. Maybe that's the word, to cultivate these states, to use these states. And I don't know, how long ago was it, Doug, that you gave me the suite and I started using them?
Gosh, it's been a couple months, 2 or 3 months now.
Yeah. And, I kind of had to get momentum going. And then when I started using it, I was just like, oh my gosh. And I fell in love with the first one. I fell in love with a warm-up track, which is 25 minutes, where it's a really interesting sound. It's very, very different than any of the sounds that we produced thus far in iAwake. So they'll really be unique if you're listening to them. And it just has this kind of, it takes you through gamma, alpha, beta, theta, delta, all of these things all in one thing. So your brain is like getting open and ready to use any of these states that are necessary. And they all, and all of these states are functional in different ways or in combinations thereof. So it really gets you ready for that. And I started using them before my deep meditation, which I do every morning. And I noticed it was really enhancing the quality of my meditative experience. And I was already having pretty good meditative experiences. Then, well, I'm writing my new book now. I've been hemming and hawing about that for a long time. And I really think it's been using these tracks that have really got me in the zone, and I listen to them when I'm reading in preparation for the writing, and I listen to them when I'm actually writing. And I'm using Dragon Speech. It's a dictation program for both Mac and Microsoft, but I'm using the Mac version, and I'm doing pretty good, man. It's going. I think I got 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 words down on paper now. And, it's pretty good stuff. So that's been exciting. And, the other thing I've really noticed is my tennis playing is getting a lot better. I'm just kind of getting these zones. My skill level has gone up, appreciably, 10, 15, percent, 20%, something like that. Enough to make, haven't lost in a while, and it's really, really cool. So I think that's, thank you, Doug. It's like, and I told Doug earlier that I've noticed maybe, and these tracks are not, it's like when I'm listening to them, it's not like I have this big, deep non-dual experience or something like that, but the effects of them when I'm doing my work, or playing tennis or doing whatever it is I'm doing, I just notice there's increased capacity, and I have, I can be in a bad mood or whatever, and then the lights go on and it's time to show up, and immediately I can do that. And it's just, I'm getting a lot of work done. I'm getting into these flow states. It's really, really extraordinary stuff. And of course, the question, and a lot of times, maybe before we knew about the integral model, and when we were just, kind of birthing this new spiritual revolution that probably started in the 60s, and when young Westerners got a hold of psychedelic drugs and stuff like that, a lot of us got tripped off in chasing states. We were trying to chase states because states are cool, they're fun, spiritual fun, ecstasy, out of the body, whatever. And we kind of got lost, and we forgot which states were for. And I think that now some people will use these technologies just because they want to perform better, and that's completely legitimate. But at a deeper level, or at a higher level of development, we start seeing that these states are powerful tools to be used to do our work in the world. And Doug and I are currently writing a book called The Practice of Life, Life of Practice. Anyway, it's a working title. And the tagline is wake up, show up, clean up, grow up. No, wake up, grow up, clean up, show up. And Ken's talking in those terms a lot. And of course, we're talking in those terms a lot too, because that's the work that we do on ourselves. So it's coming from a very, personal, first person experience. But part of the showing up is giving our gifts back. So it's not enough just to get enlightened and get through your stuff and blah, blah, blah. You actually have to do something with it. Now that you fashioned a tool that has its foot both on the earth and in heaven, uniting those two things in a way that's really functional and exciting, then you have to show up and do your work. And these states are coming online, and they're given. Also to say, you got to practice. You're not just going to put these things on and start writing like Shakespeare. You probably have done a lot of work. You've read Shakespeare, you've read the great writers, you've learned how to, you learned grammar and English and punctuation, and you struggled with writing. I mean, you spent a lot of time into that. So when you could only produce as high as, you've set the foundation. In other words, you provided yourself with the tools through ongoing practice. Then when flow comes together, all the tools start snapping and working together at a much higher level than you thought possible. So it takes both. It takes the daily grind, the daily grit of practice, working on yourself, and of course, using these tools to entrain your brain, just something very amazing. And we don't have to jump out of airplanes. We don't have to take illegal drugs. We don't have to take legal drugs. We don't have to do a lot of this stuff. We just have to use this technology, which is basically painless, and there's no negative side effects. And it's, for the moment, it's completely legal, right? They might figure out that they want to, when a big pharma starts losing a bunch of money, they might regulate us or something. But anyway, it's all good and free today. So there. What do you think about all this, Doug?
I think that part of showing up is often discovering what our gifts are in the first place. We may have some idea of what they think those are, or maybe we're in a really bad place and we just think that we have nothing to offer, but it's the act of getting in there and trying that helps us learn what we have to give to the world. I think it's really important to the daily practice that you mentioned, because there's a real danger in trying to compare ourselves to the great masters when we're not quite at that level. There's an equal danger in expecting more from ourselves than we're able to give on a certain day. I think the thing is to show up and do your best for you, whatever that may be in the day, and continue to strive towards that. They say that the growth zone there is about 4% improvement over what you're capable of doing. But I have found that this
now say that again. It's fascinating. One more
they
time.
say that
4%.
That the growth zone is about 4% more difficult than you think you are capable of doing. So if you stretch yourself too much, you're way up in this place of anxiety and you're not going to do so well. If something's too easy, you're not going to grow. It's like lifting a Q-tip at the gym. Nothing's going to happen there. But if you go in and try to bench press 600 pounds or something on your first day there, you're going to have a real bad time. So 4%, they say, is about right. And that's one of the keys too with flow states when you're using these tracks is skirting that line where you're pushing just a little bit. Since we're working on this book now, and since you've been doing some really good writing so far, by the way, I
Thank you.
Wanted to share another thing too about blank page syndrome. And this is really hard when we expect ourselves to come in and do really good work all the time, when we have this vision of what we think we're going to create or what we expect ourselves to create. And one of the keys there is to just get started by lowering your standards. There's an adage in the writing world that you can't edit the blank page. So you have to lower your standards and just get some words down. Or maybe you're a sculptor, or maybe you're a musician. You just start playing some notes. Whatever it is, you just lower your standards a little bit, get something there. And it's that act of moving forward that allows you to slide into the groove and go into that flow state.
You know, I was listening to interview with Tim Ferriss yesterday, who was saying the same thing. It's interestingly enough, you know, you're saying it. And he said, you know, it's like I used to be a pretty good songwriter. I haven't written a song in quite a while, but I think I'd really love to do it. Obviously, I'm doing other creative things, but he was saying, you know, if you're a songwriter, like, don't give me a chorus or a bridge or the first verse. Give me 2 words. Could you come up with 2 words? It's like, okay, you know, and that is one of our ways to get our little damaged, you know, egos full of, you know, either unmerited arrogance or unmerited deep shame that we can't do, you know, we're not skillful enough, and get you going. And I think after you start doing it a while, it becomes easier. You know, if you have a practice going, you've gotten through that initial stage, you know, with the super ego, and that's the part telling you what you should be. You know, it's just the super ego is really detrimental to practice. Okay. You go into meditation with all these ideas, what meditation is supposed to be like, as opposed to what it actually is. You know, you'll always be, well, it should be this, should be that, you know. And if you have this idea that you're supposed to write like this or that, I mean, the trick is to find your own voice, you know. You shouldn't write like anybody else. And maybe initially you start off like that. Like, I want to be able to play the guitar like Eric Clapton, and somewhere along the line you go, well, yeah, I know I can do Clapton pretty good now, but maybe never as good as him. After all, he is Eric. But I am developing my own style, and it's starting to come through me. And I practiced enough that I have all the technical abilities to play whatever nuance or whatever powerful thing my soul wants to play. And that's where it gets really fun.
There's a really important idea here that I hope to do some more teaching around, either specifically in relation to stealing flow or in some other way. But for you guys here on the coaching call, flow happens in a cycle, and this happens on both a macro and a micro scale. And in this cycle of flow, you start out with a struggle phase. You know, in the beginning, learning to play the guitar is really hard. You're not going to play like Clapton. You sit there and you struggle with it, and it's a challenge. Next comes the release, where you have to learn to let go, and then you get into flow, and then you recover.
Right.
So this applies on a day-to-day basis too. You're going to maybe sit down and stare at that blank page. You're going to struggle to write those first 2 words, those first 2 sentences of a song, whatever the case may be. But then you have to just let go. You release, and that's what leads to the flow.
That's right. You know, and the more, if you just want to be great, you know, if I want to be the best goddamn guitar player that ever played. I mean, let's just say that I want to do that. Well, what have I learned from studying all these other great guitar players, from B.B. King to Albert King to Stevie Ray Vaughan to Eric Clapton to Johnny Winters? I mean, these are the people that I just hang out with and admire and play along with and watch their fingers and see what they're doing. Well, what did they all worked their asses off. They practiced all the time. They were completely in love with practice, completely knew that they had no they had no chance of doing anything if they didn't dedicate themselves to their art. And they worked and they worked and they worked. And so I have a nephew who's really a gifted jazz saxophonist. He's 16 and he's got a paying gig at some wine bar in Seattle, getting paid good money. When he busts, they fill up his hat, and he's a professional musician now at 16. And I just keep, in fact, I'm going to send him the book, The Talent Code. If you guys haven't read that, I recommend that today. It just says the key to greatness, and maybe, who knows if you're going to be, you'll be, some world changing something in your field. But if you understand the discipline, the dynamic, the agony, the ecstasy of daily deep practice, pushing yourself that 4% beyond your comfort zone into that sweet spot, man, the transformation is going to happen, and we're getting all these great comments. So we must be sparking people. So anyway, this is awesome. What a great discussion. We want to read some of these comments, or anybody has questions, or do you want to join in live?
Sure. I just wanted to remind everybody that we are recording the teleseminars to post on YouTube later. So if there's something that you'd rather not be seen for, you can post it in the chat. And with that in mind, sure, let's go ahead and read some of these comments.
Okay, gosh, there's a lot of stuff here. Okay, no, that's you giving instructions. Amen. Amen again. Momentum. That's what I'm trying to build up to. Absolutely. That's a great point. Momentum, it's like you're trying to get this wagon going and it's really heavy. Help me. Some people get on the wheels. I used to do this in wilderness. We had hand carts. We pushed up and down mountains through the mud and snow. But once you get it going, it gets a lot easier. But initially to start, it takes great effort because you just have to build these new synapses, these new pathways coming into the brain and coming where it becomes really established. And it's not like, oh, fuck, I got to practice. Excuse my French. But I practice. It's what I do, man. Bam, just like I eat, I go to the bathroom, I go to bed, I sleep, I practice. And once you get that going, and hopefully this is inspiration to you, listen to other inspirational talks, get a coach, hang out with people that are really good in what they do. So you're going to get, spark off of their discipline and their joy in what they do, and you'll just get it going. So have the courage to fake it and get going till you make it, and get that momentum going, and it will change your life. It's the best thing. And I'm about to read Integral Recovery again. Oh, well, thank you for writing it. Yeah, universe, thank you for writing it. And I'm back into that zone writing now. And what the book that Doug and I are writing is kind of like Integral Recovery for everybody. In other words, the lessons in that book is not just for people who are struggling from the compulsive disorder of alcoholism and addictions. For everyone that has a body and wants to be happy and wants to be their best self and wants to give their gifts back to life, right? And that's what it's about. So, yeah. So congratulations, Doug and John. Well, you're welcome. No, I mean, obviously that has nothing to do with it. It was totally Doug stuff. For releasing Stealing Flow. Wow. You were faster than light. Well, thank you. Well, it's amazing. However, at this point, I'm only listening to a version on Amplifield. Well, hey, whatever gets you to the party, right? We love Amplifield. Todd, Jason, coming. They're beautiful people, and we partner with them a lot.
By the way, it's over now, but today is the solstice, and Amplifield had a meditation for the solstice happening today.
Oops. Yeah, we'll do that every week. We'll announce all the cool things you missed. It's like the Beatles got back together. You missed it. It's like that with entrainment. Too much push, and I'm the polar opposite of flow until enough rest, then increase flow. Yeah, that's a good point too.
Yeah, that's two things there. I mean, first, yeah, there's the struggle phase, and then you release, you let go. Beyond that, the recovery is so important. And man, I know sleep, if I don't get enough sleep, I just cannot function. I push myself so hard during the day between my physical, my body practice, and then getting into work and doing all this stuff, showing up for all these things, that if I don't take that time to take care of myself and recover, it just doesn't happen. You have to rest. And that's part of the thing. I've been saying a lot lately that you just can't be all yang. Everything is a cycle. And there's your lesson for the solstice, is that it all goes, it all cycles.
Yeah, and the nice thing about it, these flow states, when you're done with them, I mean, because these are not, chemically or induced or some way that that takes its toll on you. I just feel relaxed but satisfied, satiated. It's kind of cool, and that's right. It's not like there's a deep depression. It's not like a bipolar manic thing, and then you go down deep. But I was hanging out with Arjuna Arda on our last trip to California. Before that, I interviewed him for the Spiritual Technologies talk. He's writing a new book. I don't know if you can even name it. It's called not Resplendent. Anyway, Luminescent, something like, I got the wrong words, but he gave me the manuscript, and basically what he's trying to say, that there is a cycle in this creativity. And you imagine like at 12 midnight, you're up there, and it's a time for emptiness. It's a time just to empty all the stuff out, and it's empty, right? Boom, empty mind. And from that, you move to 3 o'clock, and that's where the flow state, the inspiration, the creativity, genius, the lightning flashing, and ting, all this stuff. And then you move down to 6 o'clock. According to Arjuna, it's where you're actually just you're implementing the vision. You're building the building and nails and stuff like that. It's not the kind of envisioning part, it's the establishing part, and I think that probably involves flow too, when you're actually doing the grounded work. But then he says you move to 9 o'clock, and according to Arjuna, it's a time of just like you're kind of down. It's like everything you did before seems rather stupid and not enough, and you're kind of, it's almost depression. It's like fall or something. Though I love fall, that's probably not a good metaphor. But then you move back into emptiness. And I don't necessarily agree that the 9 o'clock has to be kind of a down, empty, or depressing, painful place. But I do think there is a time just to the ego's kind of releasing and undoing all the stuff and blah blah blah. Then you move back into emptiness, and the cycle repeats itself. So it's an interesting model he's developing, and it's talking about this stuff in a cyclic way. Hey, does anybody want to get on and talk to us? You're sending great chats. Oh my God, I should publish these things.
I just want to say thank you. Can you hear me, John?
Yeah. Who's this?
My name, well, I don't give my full name, but I've been messaging with your wife a little bit, and so is my coach, who's also my roommate.
Awesome.
But I got PMP and read through the book, and I have 12 days clean today.
Bless you, brother.
Many years on and off. Opiates, IV, just everything bad, and all different places you go with that. So I always felt out of place in AA and NA. It felt very uncomfortable. It felt like they were keeping themselves down. Like I learned a lot, and it was got a lot of wisdom from it, like you write about in the book, but it was still uncomfortable and unsettling. And why would I surround myself with people that had the same problem as me, instead of people that are successful and working towards something, higher, and disassociating from their past? So now I wish there was a IR group or something I could attend here locally. So that's why I'm on this call.
Well, gosh, maybe Doug, you want to speak to that?
Yeah. First of all, I was very much in that same boat with you. I had a very similar issue with my local 12-step program then, and had the same wish, which is part of why we've got all this going now. I guess the first thing is, if you're not yet, I highly recommend the Integral Recovery podcast that we do.
Right on.
At integralrecoveryinstitute.com, and just go to the podcast. We've got a lot of really good stuff there. We also have a Facebook group going for Integral Recovery there, and there are a lot of people
great group.
Yeah, jump on and just post some really good stuff. So that conversation is going all week long. And then the third thing, of course, is that we're talking about, and this is still kind of in the works, so I don't have a date for you yet, but we're talking about getting an integral recovery presence on the Amplifield. So we'll do actually meetings once a week or so where we can come on and share and have integral recovery based discussions as they pertain to what we're doing to get better and change our lives. And we will definitely let you know if you're not signed up for the mailing list yet at Integral Recovery. That'd be a good place to start, because we'll let you know what's going on there. Let me type the link into chat.
Yeah.
Here.
Also, Dr. Bob Weathers, who is our colleague and does the podcast with, he's taking on clients right now, coaching clients. Mm-hmm. And man, that's a huge help. If you can afford that, we'll send you his contact information, get a hold of him. And he's done his own recovery process. He's a psychologist. He's a beautiful man. He's very loving, very smart, and just a wonderful friend. And he does really good work with folks. So if you can get that, a coach is really, really, really helpful. It holds you accountable. There's so many good things about a coach.
I got lucky that my roommate and friend, she's a quantum success graduate of that field of study, that kind of coaching, and it's been really helpful. So
great.
Yeah. So get just congratulations on 12 days, and that's the hardest part by far. Hang in there, and keep showing up however you can. Reach out to us.
Yeah, it's a lot of suffering, oh man, it's just really fucking hard.
Yeah, and it gets easier, okay? But you got to stick with it, day to day, one day at a time, and don't even think about, 2 months from now or 3 days from now. Just think about today and start getting some sober time and keep practicing. Start ratcheting up your meditation hours. You can make a list, 1 hour, 2 hours every day. You have cross that 5, and you'll start encouraging yourself. What's I'm making improvement. What's going to be when that whole poster's filled up, with 90, and so get things to inspire you and realize that it's going to get a lot better. Your brain has to rebuild itself, neurochemically, emotionally, spiritually. There's so much healing and recovery work that has to happen. So really stick with it. So bloody worth it. And don't, listen to the angels of your better nature, not the addict voice who just wants you to use and die, right?
Yeah, so, Doug said, lower my standards, because here I am used to, traveling the world, performing and doing all these gigs. And now I like picking up my instruments. It seems like the hardest thing in the world. Like I haven't been able to practice because my energy's just not been there. So I have to give myself that time, and that's really hard to do that.
Yeah, you're coming off opioids. It's going to take a while, but if you stick with it and you keep practicing, you'll find a new relationship with your music, and you'll be able to enter into these states unaided by mind-altering drugs. And so you'll have a career that will, like Eric is, getting to his 7th, decade of life, and probably been blessing us for over 50 years with his music and his beauty. So you want to go for, you don't want to do for the 3 or 4 year, burnout. You want to do for a lifelong career that keeps deepening and shifting as you move through different stages of your life, but in an awake, healthy way.
Definitely.
So it'll get better, man. It'll get better.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Meditation, try to get some sunshine, get enough sleep, and take a walk. Really, it makes a big difference. Get your blood flowing. Those things all together make a big difference.
Yeah, and if you can find a recovery partner, somebody who wants to do the work with you, even if it's via Skype or via the internet or something like that, you hold each other accountable, and hey, did you meditate today? It's like, first thing we ask each other, Doug and I, how's practice? What did you do today?
Yep.
Little shoulders, and I did this and this and this as far as my meditation, and that's it's great. It really helps.
So I can find someone maybe through Facebook to do that with, through the group.
Oh, the Facebook group, yeah. And now it's a private group, yeah? How does he get it to be a part of that?
So it's a secret group now. We did that to protect everybody's identity.
Okay, cool.
But what I'm going to do is I'll put up here the page, integralrecoveryinstitute.com/community, and you can get the link to the Facebook group in there, and then either Dr. Bob or I will approve you, and you can just start talking.
All
just,
right, great.
yeah, post that you're looking for a practice partner, somebody to help keep you accountable. And I'm sure there are plenty of people there who'd be willing to take you up on that. You can find somebody that you resonate with and go from there.
So I clicked on the link and it said the content isn't available right now.
Is there a request to join button on there?
Yeah, step 1, I got it. Well, step 1 is to join the mailing list, and then step 2 is the one I clicked on, join the group by clicking here. It says after your request is approved, stop by, but I don't see a place to submit a request.
All right. Well, I'll tell you what. I will have to take a look at that. If you want to go to contact and just send an email there from that contact page, I will follow up with you afterwards when the call is over.
Okay, will do.
Yeah, and if you want to talk to me, just via Skype sometime, pro bono, just kind of talk about this stuff, and please email me, let me know. Okay.
That's incredible. I mean, just all the time you put into this. It's just, I hope to give back in the same way with my gifts, like you're talking about, which is music mostly. So just keep spreading it. Appreciate that.
Yeah, you're so welcome. I think we're about getting time to sign off here. So any last comments or questions from anyone? Doug, anything you need to announce? Anything that's coming up?
Let's see. If you haven't checked out Stealing Flow yet, that is available now. So I recommend you do it. It's 20% off right now, I think, for at least one more day. So iAwake.com, Stealing Flow. And other than that, I really appreciate everybody being here and participating. It's always such a blast. Always learn so much when you guys share your thoughts and interact in this way. Love these conversations, and glad that everyone could be here today.
God bless you guys. See you next time. And contact me if you need to talk. Anybody, whoever was, and anybody else. Anyway, see you guys.